Here we go, episode 87 of the Hardline Sports Talk. I'm Michael Merlo. I'm joined, as always, by my friend John Michael Masiri, JM. The day after Championship Sunday, the best Sunday of the year. How are you?
I'll be honest, I'm pretty disappointed, a bit enraged,
Oh, okay.
and just overall annoyed with the way these playoffs have gone. I mean, I don't want to call them my Bengals, but the Bengals are out. My Super Bowl pick. I would say I wagered a certain amount of my finances on them both this week, during the regular season on a future to win the Super Bowl. So I'm feeling a bit annoyed, but my team wasn't in it, so I can't be that pissed. But
It's just football.
yeah.
You can't take it that seriously, right?
What a ridiculous Sunday. I mean, especially that first game, which we're obviously going to talk about. Didn't even feel like a football game. It felt like it was in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, we're gonna get into everything. It was yeah, we talked yesterday right after the last game, not right after, but a couple hours after. And it felt like a grind to watch all 8 hours of football
Yeah,
on Sunday.
it's a good
Like,
point.
that's how it felt, especially that first game. And I walked away from that game. I think a lot of people walked away from the 49er Eagle game, but it was a tough watch. I mean, the stoppages. Was it me or did everybody go down yesterday? Like, there were so many injury
No, it
timeouts.
wasn't just you. Yeah, that
There,
was.
there were commercial breaks every time, especially on Fox. Fox, I felt like there was a commercial every freaking time they
Yeah.
could take a break. Fox took a break and went to commercial.
Mhm.
It was really unenjoyable. Especially that first game. At least in the Bengal Chief game, it was an entertaining game. But again, it's a common theme in this episode. The referees. If
Mhm.
you notice the referees and they even make a call, even if they have to make the call to decide a game, to decide a freaking conference, we're not going to be happy about it. Even if you're on the Chiefs side, I was on the Chiefs side. You don't love the way the game ended. Of course, we would have rather Patrick Mahomes threw a pass on the sideline, get the 2 feet in, 3 seconds
Yeah.
left, and then they kick the field goal. That's not how it ended. But we're
I
going to
mean,
talk about it.
there were some exciting things that happened in that Chiefs game. Um, but me personally, I think the most exciting thing of the entire Sunday was Trent Williams just throwing a man to the floor. That was to me the greatest entertainment that I had the whole time.
How about that? That was bad.
Yeah.
The 49ers got a real chip. It was the first time that defense really I guess got outplayed in a big way. And granted, at a certain point, them getting outplayed has to do with the quarterback situation that they were dealing with.
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
think we're going to talk about it though. Let's start off in Philadelphia with the wonderful fans of Philadelphia. Let me just say something about
Great.
these gritty, good, hardworking, passionate fans. Congrats to you guys. I am over the moon for you
You
people.
you scare me. You scare me when you do this because like you despise them so much where it's like when the Mets lost to the Braves when you started doing the tomahawk chop, like that
That
is
was
just when
funny.
you go full insane, you do that. All of a sudden
No,
now you're praising Eagles fans, which is obviously sarcastic, but it's
no,
scary when you do this.
I'm dead serious. Good for them. Good for them. I hope they climb on more bus stops and it collapses on top on from below. Please, no. All seriousness, they're a very passionate group, obviously, and I can respect that to a level because I'd like to think that, especially with the Mets, I'm very passionate with my fandom, and the Giants to a certain point, I am as well. So I can respect their passion,
Yeah.
but it's the next level they go to that I'm like, you're kind of teetering on psychopath,
Yeah.
you know. But either or, they deserved it, right? I mean, I've seen this now that they had the easiest path to the Super Bowl in recent memory. If they would have skated by the Giants and then skated by this 49er team, which didn't have a quarterback that could throw the ball, I would have said, yeah, you're right. And we'd say, oh, they're going to get blown out. They blew these teams out. The game was never in question in any of these games.
Yeah.
Credit to them.
And I'm sorry, there's all these questions, as the season's going on. It's, oh well, look at the Eagles schedule. It's so illegitimate. They have such a cakewalk schedule. Comparing them, saying they're a fraud, comparing them to that Steelers team from a couple years ago that was an 11-0 and ended up collapsing at the end of the year. Then the playoffs come around, and like you said, they have an easy path to the Super Bowl, but they blow these two teams out. Like, what else do you want them to do? And how about the fact it's like I said, it's a really, really easy schedule. They got the 1 seed, and the NFC is it was a fraud. I'm sorry. Like, we were talking about it all year that the NFC was weaker than the AFC, and that's exactly how it played out in the playoffs.
Yep.
I mean, what other NFC team would you say is up to par with the Eagles? I think people might say the Cowboys because they beat them, but the Cowboys beat them when Gardner Minshew was the quarterback. And that's another thing that everybody wanted to say, oh, well, Jalen Hurts is just a product of the system. Any guy could be successful in that. I think it's pretty obvious now that the Eagles are a lot better when Jalen Hurts is the quarterback. So let's put that argument to bed. And yeah, it's a weak NFC. The Vikings were frauds. The Giants were frauds. The Seahawks were nothing. They were a freaking skating, wild card team. The Bucs shouldn't have even been in the playoffs. So you just have the Cowboys who, were half frauds too. Dak's a fraud. And then you have the Niners who were their hardest opponent on paper. And then obviously we know what happened in the game, some more unfortunate things. I personally think that they would have won the game. Still, it would have been a lot closer probably. Just because what we saw from that Niners defense. You were talking about it saying that, oh, well, the Niners defense got outplayed, which technically speaking, yes, they did. But when you put things into context, they really did a phenomenal job. And Jalen Hurts was making 1, 2, 3 reads and not letting go of the football. I mean, nobody was open, and he just started scrambling around. They had some lucky penalties, and then we know about the Devonta Smith, the drop that was a catch, which we're gonna get into the refs. That to me is not on the refs. That is a bang bang, really close play. When it was live, it looked like he caught it. That's on Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers. They have every right to challenge that play. The Eagles did a good job getting down the field fast, and it wasn't overturned. They can't get every call right. That, to me, I let go.
Yeah, that was tough. The ref's not going to make that call, especially he was blinded. Devonta Smith going to the ground. He can't see the ball.
Yeah.
And Smith's reaction should have been a red flag. What do you call it? Coincidence. That should have been a red flag for Shanahan. Like, oh, maybe we throw the challenge flag here.
Yeah.
I also have an issue with maybe the booth not stopping that and saying, hold on a minute, let's check that, whatever. Because if that call is made correctly, if there's a challenge and they win it, the game is completely different. The 49ers are now getting the ball at the, whatever it was, their own 40.
Yeah. Are you you're talking about the Niners when you said the booth?
I'm talking about the Niners booth. I'm talking about the replay officials in the booth.
But
maybe they should have stopped it.
Nah, but I don't know if that's a playoff rule, but I don't think it's special. It's not up to them to stop the game unless it's within 2 minutes or something like that. Then it goes to a booth review. But I think that's just
last night. Do you remember what happened? The Bengals were going to challenge a call. Oh, when
the 3rd and 9,
when Mahomes kind of was going down to the ground and then flipped the ball to Jerick McKinnon or whoever the running back was at the time.
Yeah,
and then they got a few yards. His shin and knee was completely down,
right.
And Taylor threw the challenge flag, and they were like, "No, we're changing this. You don't have to use a challenge flag," because the booth stepped in and said, "Let's check that."
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know if the booth was involved. I know sometimes they change the call on the field themselves, but if the booth was involved, I don't know.
Yeah, you're probably right. Well, no, they don't change the call themselves. It's like that expedited replay they've been doing this year,
right? Which is good. I mean, it helps with the pace of the play and everything like that.
No, it's helped big time, and I was a little shocked that, again, with Smith's reaction, let's kind of look at this. But you're right. Listen, give them the credit. They got the ball. They got to the ball quickly and snapped it.
What I would say about that, though, is the Mahomes thing. That's something that quickly, one shot, you realize, all right, he was down. The Smith one, they were going to commercial. The replay they showed, I was like, I didn't really see anything there. And then it took until the 3rd camera angle that came out to be like, oh yeah, that ball's on the ground.
Yeah. It's tough. Listen, and the game completely changes. Maybe Purdy doesn't get hurt He's not in that scenario. By the way, I mean, I'm not saying the guy deserved to get hurt, but they deserve to have something bad happen to them when you're putting the backup tight end to block Hassan Reddick, who led the league in sacks. I mean, what the hell are we doing? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean he's a game wrecker, Hassan Reddick. He was just going crazy yesterday, and that's just irresponsible at that point to put that matchup.
You're 100% right. That defense, especially early on, was, besides that first drive, was buzzing.
Yeah,
they were making plays, like you said. I hadn't seen Jalen Hurts that uncomfortable all season long.
Yeah,
he was very uncomfortable.
I'll give a lot of respect to D'Amico Ryans, who's probably going to be the Texans' head coach any second now. He did a really good job. It was really interesting, their defensive game plan. They're known, obviously, the Niners, for having a great defensive line, and they have Nick Bosa, who's going to be the defensive player of the year. Obviously, a fantastic pass rusher, but they weren't really going like trying to get Hurts uncomfortable. They kept him in the pocket. They were doing sort of a contained technique where they were being very patient with their rushes. Not trying to just get past the lineman by any ways possible. And that means, you'll give Hurts all the room to run, which is where he makes his money. They were keeping him inside the pocket. And that's like I was saying, where he was looking through his first, second, third read. Nobody was there. Now, all right, what do I do? He was going to scramble out, had to run back a couple yards to try to get out of the pocket, had to throw it away because they did a good job of containing him. They did a very good job on defense. And obviously, if you have zero offense and your quarterback can't even throw the ball from the halfway point of the third quarter for the rest of the game, they didn't run a single pass play, you're going to wear down after a little while as a defense. So
the game changed when it was, a little bit before the half. It was 7-7. It was right after the McCaffrey touchdown. And Josh Johnson's in the game. And now, the Eagles are on offense and they're driving. And remember, the Eagles went for it on fourth down on their own side. They got it. Then there were like 3 penalties, which gave the Eagles first downs on that one drive. And then they ended up scoring. Remember, Jimmy Ward had the interception, but he, clearly held Brown. Another first down. That's the drive that killed him. Yeah, and like you said, that was interesting. And Greg Olsen, who's, I'm on the Greg Olsen train now. Greg Olsen's a very good analyst. They actually showed Bosa like getting upfield and then sitting.
Yeah,
like he just sat. They want him, 100%. And you're right. He's moving around, throwing on the run, guys getting open. That's tough. But if he's just sitting in that pocket, you can get him.
Yeah,
and he was rattled. And let me just say this, and again, he played a great defense yesterday. And in the Giant game, he didn't have to do much. They just really ran the ball. We haven't seen that MVP Jalen Hurts,
Right.
Like Jalen Hurts did not, was not amazing against the Giants, good against the Giants. And, yes, on Sunday, he was not great. He wasn't amazing.
No.
They won the game. So that's going to be interesting to see if we get that Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl. He's going to have another 2 weeks to rest that shoulder, but we're going to get that MVP Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, it was interesting they're coming out with reports that Jalen said himself, he's like, I'm not completely healthy. I was pretty surprised by that, honestly, because I thought that after the bye, he seemed like he looked pretty good. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. We keep talking about it, but they did a great job. He had like 20 pass attempts at one point and only like 97 yards or something against that Niners defense. They really everything downfield, and they took some shots downfield. And Travarius Ward did a really good job on the perimeter. There was a deep shot for Devonta Smith. He had a really nice pass breakup, and he had another really good breakup against somebody else. I think it was Quez Watkins. But it's pretty insane to just think about this 49ers team's luck with injuries, with the quarterback position. And it's even more crazy to think about it that they have a good offensive line. Like, you would think it would be like, over X amount of years that it's been like 8 years where they've had one full season out of their starting quarterback, and it was the year they won the Super Bowl. You would think, they've had a terrible offensive line. Their quarterback gets hurt constantly. They've had a good offensive line. So they've just having 5 different, they were at their 5th string quarterback, basically. Their 4th string. Josh Johnson's their 4th string quarterback, whatever he is. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I actually felt bad for Kyle Shanahan. Like, what the hell is the guy supposed to do
Yeah.
at that point? It was an unbelievable year. Just, kind of ran out of that magic. And listen, I think the Purdy question now, he has a torn UCL. He's going to be out 6 months. I think the answer is simple with Purdy, and you may disagree. I think you have a quarterback competition between him and Trey Lance. I think Lance is going to win it by a landslide, and I think Trey Lance is your starting quarterback with that team, with that roster. I mean, if he is anything that they thought that he was going to be coming out of the draft with that roster, that's going to be a dangerous, dangerous team.
Well, that's the thing. They're not really losing anybody. Their biggest free agent,
No,
I think, is Jimmy Ward. All the big names are staying, and I agree. I mean, I think they should just keep both of them. I don't think you have to make a major decision here.
no,
Brock Purdy, you keep him as your backup because Lance is your guy. You drafted Lance to be here, and Lance shows a lot of potential. So, see, I agree. You shouldn't just gift wrap the quarterback job to Lance in training camp and say you're the
not at
starter.
all.
It should be a competition. Purdy should have the right to fight for the job, but if I'm them, looking at how your luck's gone since 2015 with the quarterback health, you're gonna need like at least two good quarterbacks on your roster. Don't do
You better
not
you better have a backup.
Yeah. Jimmy G, that's interesting. I know they've like with the contract and they've restructured it and they've done a lot of different things. If I'm Jimmy G, what's the point in now? What's the point of staying anymore, especially with Purdy's emergence? Because now you don't even know if you're the second next guy.
Right.
So
No, it made sense last year. It definitely made sense last season. Like, okay, I'll be the highest paid backup. God forbid something happens, I'm here on a really good roster where I'm comfortable. I don't think the 49ers are going to want to pay the price that it's going to cost to keep him around and have him compete for, the second string
yeah,
job or even the first string job. They
and
don't want that.
and he'll get a starting job. He'll
Yeah.
Oakland will get him. Washington, somebody's gonna make a move to get him. Maybe in Indianapolis. The Jets are a possibility. But I mean, I don't want. Why would you risk it with his medicals? And he's also the like fourth best option out there. But
No, I mean, if Derek Carr was, whoever loses on the Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes and
yeah,
whoever doesn't draft a quarterback, Jimmy G will be right there. I think Washington's interesting for everybody,
yeah.
but could be for Jimmy
Washington and
G too.
Indianapolis are just gonna keep getting quarterbacks, like one new quarterback a year. You can't use them back
You
to back.
think
You got to get a new one. Yeah. That
you got to
Indianapolis
exchange it up?
they got to find somebody for a couple years. I mean, how many can you go through now?
I,
They're like
they got
the
it. They got
town
it.
whore of quarterbacks.
They got to draft. They got to draft. They got to draft.
Yeah, well, they have fifth now, fourth, something. They got a high pick.
Yeah, they got a high pick. They have to draft quarterback. I honestly think they will.
And bring Jeff Saturday back to develop.
Please. I'm gonna say something right now. The Giants defensive coordinator Wink Martindale is interviewing over there, and it's a more attractive job than like Arizona or even Denver. I think, or Denver and Indianapolis would be pretty close for me. But like, you don't know what you're walking into, and you have a good job right now. Like, is it worth it? Like Dan Quinn walked away. Like Dan Quinn's like again, second year in a row. I want to come back. D'Amico Ryans just told the Broncos no. If he doesn't get the Texans, I think he'll stay,
Yeah.
but he's gonna get the Texans. Like there are some jobs like it's not worth the risk.
Right.
Like
Because
do
these
you
guys
really want?
they get shipped out in 2 years.
Yeah,
Or even a year now we're seeing.
like that Cardinal job. Like they'll
Oh,
have like the last pickings of whoever,
yeah.
and they'll go 3-14 next year and get fired. Like that's just what it's gonna be.
Yeah. No, I mean if I'm the Cardinal, if I'm interviewing for that Cardinals job, I'm saying right on the table, listen, you got to give me some sort of security here
Yeah,
because I'm not, like Joe Douglas did when he came to the Jets. They signed him to a 6-year deal and told him, listen, this is going to take a little while. You got to trust me for a little bit. Same thing. You can't. They got cap problems. They got an aging roster. They got Call of Duty quarterback.
literally.
They got some problems. Which
That is
that contract. Kyler Murray, is he really that good?
no. Well, I'll tell you right now who's not happy with that contract: the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
Because that's the contract that Lamar wants, or a little more than that, or just right at it. And, whether or not we think Lamar's worth it, he believes he is. And, you got to be higher than this guy or whatever. And not good. It's exactly what happened with the Mets and Tatis.
Yeah, with
Lindor needs to be the
Lindor.
highest paid shortstop.
Give me 341.
Give
That's
me
just petty at that
341.
point.
Right, but I mean, they screwed it up. They screwed the market. They screwed the shortstop market up. Even look this offseason now.
Yep.
So thanks, Padres, for being incompetent. But anyway, back to football. I can't wait for baseball. I really can't. I walked in my house today. My dad was watching a Mets Classic. July 4th, 2021. They came back and beat the Yankees.
I would just like to say I catch a lot of heat for being a NASCAR fan. Okay,
Yeah.
a lot of heat. My whole life, everybody makes fun of me.
You got the NASCAR poster right behind you.
Exactly.
Yep.
Super Bowl Sunday. Right after that, everybody's going to hit a little depression. Everybody's going to be like, oh my God, like no more sports until baseball and blah, like spring training or whatever.
Yep.
They're going to March Madness is going to be a thing everybody's looking forward to, but it's really the most depressing time of the year. I got the Daytona 500 the next weekend. I'm hyped. I got back-to-back Super Bowls.
I mean,
I'll tell you, it's the life.
I mean, it's a little depressing, no? Like the season's over.
I mean, yeah, from a football thing, it's sad. Football's over. But I got a new thing to look forward to. So don't you worry.
Baseball's almost here. I can't wait.
All right, let's get into Bengals Chiefs.
Yeah, because you listen, you lost your Bengals. I lost my 49ers. Those are my future bets, my Super Bowl picks. Let's talk about yours. Interesting game. Can I say something before I give you the floor? I knew that the Bengals are going to lose when they started talking this crap.
So
Burrowhead. Oh, the mayor. He's taking a paternity test. Just shut their damn mouths before they walked in Arrowhead Stadium again in the playoffs. By the way, with a banged up quarterback, a tight end that had back spasms, then the best corner on the team gets hurt, and the Willie Gay gets hurt at the beginning of the game. Like, come on. You want to talk this crap and then not win that game? Yeah. Please.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that stuff is just all BS about like, oh, this team's talking crap about that team, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think it has a little effect. Obviously, they use it as motivation, but I wasn't thinking like, oh, they called it Burrowhead. I gotta back out of my pick. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna talk about the refs again. The way the game ends, it's just, and you said it before in the opener about you were rooting for the Chiefs, and even you just felt like it was just a crappy feeling that the refs had that much of a say in the game. And whether it was the right call or the wrong call, it doesn't really matter. It's just you hate to see that the Chiefs literally won the game because there was an unnecessary roughness call. Like it's really annoying to think that a single call can literally change the outcome of the game. Because you could go back and rewrite history literally with penalties. If I think the most obvious one that people talk about constantly is Rams Saints when Nicole Roby Coleman just decked whoever Traquan Smith or whoever that receiver was when it was obvious pass interference. It didn't get called. Saints fans are never going to let go of that one. It's just it's like kind of it's like an embarrassing kind of feeling, honestly, or it's like it made me feel crappy because I'm like, it's really annoying that I really love this sport that much. And like, that's how a AFC championship game has to end.
Yes, but first off, I think because it was the right call, I'm not embarrassed. I'm not like, oh, well, like it was the right call. Like he made a mistake. It was a bad boneheaded play. And I feel bad for the guy. I really do. But at the end of the day, the Bengals had 2 chances to go down the field to win the game. 2. With 8 minutes to go, they got the ball, and then 2.5 minutes to go before the 2-minute warning and 2 timeouts. They had chances to win this game. And Zach Taylor said it, that he's not the reason why they lost.
Oh, no.
Again, those 2 chances. How about we tackle Sky Moore while he's, returning the punt? How about we don't give this kid, who is very athletic and was drafted because of that, a perfect line drive punt right down the middle so we can return it.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, we can look at that play and say, the AFC Championship game was decided by that. But let's not act like the Bengals didn't have chances to win this game or
Yeah.
prevent that from happening, from preventing themselves from being in that spot. So, yeah, there were multiple times where I thought the Bengals were going to win this game late. I
No,
mean, multiple times.
the Chiefs deserve to win the game. I just want to put that as a disclaimer. I think the Chiefs deserve to win the game. I think Mahomes outplayed Burrow. I don't think it's all Burrow's fault. Obviously the offensive line, which we talk about a lot with this Bengals team, and it's a concern. And I think we're
Finally,
realizing that Joe Burrow and all those weapons, they can only get them so far. Eventually, that offensive line is going to be faced with a tough challenge, and they're not going to be able to run their offense anymore. And that's what happened yesterday. Chris Jones was having a freaking field day on their right tackle, just killing them every single
Chris
play,
Jones was
basically.
unbelievable yesterday.
Which, not having a postseason sack is crazy that he
Yeah.
didn't have that. That's insane. Good for him that he finally got one. This whole, I really wanted to talk about this whole Joseph Asai and Jermaine Pratt thing, because I'm sorry, like, when I was like 10 years old, I was playing like little league travel baseball, and I was pitching, and like one of my like left fielders, typical things, like the kid dropped the ball, and like I got pissed. Like I came in the dugout and I threw my glove down. I was like yelling at the kid. I was like, "What are you doing? Like, catch the ball." And my dad literally like grabbed me by the ear basically and was like, don't ever do that again. You never show up your teammate, blah,
Right.
blah, 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 blah. Like, you learn that when you first start playing sports. That's like a sportsmanship thing. Like, that's your teammate. Like, literally, you go to war with this guy every day. You don't show him up like that. And mind you, I'm 10 years old. ESPN does not have cameras in my face for millions of people to watch, and this is going to go viral online.
Yeah.
Jermaine Pratt, you would literally see camera crews looking at you. This isn't something that's private. You're blasting your teammate on every media site that's going to get out there. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And guess what, Jermaine? First of all, you played like crap. He did not have a good game. And Asai was like their best defender the whole game.
Yeah, Asai had a great game.
He had a phenomenal game. So what the hell are you talking about? He's going to be a free agent. I hope he's in the Bengals don't bring him back, but whatever. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm being dramatic, whatever, but I thought that was like, I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I thought that was ridiculous.
I just felt bad for Asai. And I saw, obviously CBS kept going to him, and I felt like that was unfair because you could clearly see him hysterically crying.
Yeah.
And he knew exactly what happened right after. And he actually had a hard fall too. It looked like he hurt himself.
Yeah, that looked.
But they didn't, first of all, they didn't have to keep showing him. And something I really liked, obviously they showed the teammates going to him on the sideline. Then BJ Hill, one of their defensive tackles, like literally during his press conference, like when the media came over to him, stood right next to him and was almost like his lawyer. And he's still crying. And yet BJ Hill standing right there. And like, if there was I saw like there was a question that he didn't like, he's like, don't say that. Mm-hmm. So that was really cool.
Yeah, that was nice.
I mean, listen, I'm not surprised. They seem like they're a tight-knit group. It's different down there in Cincinnati. We're going to get to that in a minute. I do want to talk about like Cincinnati and the future of this team in 1 second. But yeah, I think Jermaine Pratt's just a piece of crap. And it was wrong, 100%.
Mm-hmm. He's yelling, "Why are you touching the quarterback?" And first I thought that Osai was like right next to him.
Yeah.
And then I was like, which I don't know if that would make you better or worse. Probably a little bit of both. But still, I mean,
it's a crappy situation, and it sucks. And I see people, you can't call that penalty there. And you have no choice. Yeah. Like, and it was late too. The flag was kind of late, and the ref was probably like, "I don't want to throw this flag, but I have to throw this flag."
I'm okay with a little leeway room and the whole, considering the stakes and everything like that, but you really shouldn't be like altering the rules just based on the how big the situation is.
No, not at all. I agree with you.
Like I said, if it's a little bit, if it's like, all right, it could go either way, I won't call it. But like you said, it was pretty obvious.
Yeah, I mean, he had a full, like his foot was on the outside of the big white
But
line. Like,
but that's a tough play because we see quarterbacks do that and they'll kind of use it to their advantage where they know the defense is going to start slowing down and they're scared of the penalty. So they'll kind of tiptoe up the sideline for an extra 2 or 3 yards. So he's playing hard. It's a freaking spur of the moment type of thing. You don't even have a millisecond to think. So
I mean, it looks like he kind of like puts his arms out, like almost like
yeah,
gives him a shove.
yeah. I'm sure there
Like
was a little
late.
flop involved too. I don't know.
Yeah, like it's tough. I feel bad. I really do. I felt bad for the kid, but there's nothing the refs can do in that situation. And there were other instances too in that game. I mean, not they had to stop that play after the third down.
Yeah.
Because the one back judge was waving in the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
And Zach Taylor was going. I mean, Zach Taylor had things coming out of his mouth I've never even seen come out of another human being's mouth.
I'm glad you said that. Did you see in the Eagles game there were like 3 different instances where they like had the camera on somebody in the Eagles and there was like stuff coming out of their mouths.
I think I remember this.
When Hassan Reddick strip sacked Brock Purdy, he was like, "Let's go!" and like
It's
literally in
disgusting.
slow mo, like a wad of spit came out and like rested on his goatee. It was.
And what do you expect? They're
Nick
disgusting.
Sirianni was like throwing gum out of his mouth, like while he was screaming.
I saw that he lost a couple pieces of
Yeah, I
gum.
was like, what is going on?
Does Nick Sirianni do rock paper scissors with an assistant to get more gum or no? Do you remember that? Like, honest to God, like, remember his freaking press conference and the rock paper scissors stuff? Like, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Like, that was a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, whatever it was, and now he's in the Super Bowl. Like, that's kind of nuts. I rewatched the clip of Nick Sirianni's opening press conference. Brutal, but hey, he's in the Super Bowl.
Was it as
Good for
brutal
him.
as Gase's? Come on, nothing's
No, I don't think it get worse than that. The worst look ever is Ben McAdoo in the oversized suit that he wore.
Yeah, that
I
was
don't know if you remember that. That was bad.
that's a weird stint in Giants history, man. The Ben McAdoo era. What's worse, the McAdoo or the Shermer era? McAdoo, I
I
think
mean, they
you
went
were
to the
at least
playoffs.
decent. Yeah, Shermer was like Jesus with the.
Yeah, Shermer was bad. I mean, like, it wasn't embarrassing though. Like, Judge is the worst, then Shermer, then McAdoo, I guess.
I think Judge is the worst. Okay.
I mean, it was embarrassing. You had like some of the most embarrassing times of your franchise's history with Joe Judge.
True.
But anyway, back to this game because we don't want to talk about past history of the New York Giants. I'm going to say something right now about the Cincinnati Bengals, and listen, a lot of it has to do with what we saw last night, and I think you're going to disagree. It's about the future of this team. I think Joe Mixon's gone. Like, I think they are going to get rid of Joe Mixon after this year. I don't think Joe Mixon has a spot for the future on this team. I'm going to give you my reasons why.
How many years are left on his deal?
I got to look that up right now, but I'm going to tell you why I don't think Joe Mixon is part of the future. Okay.
All right. Tell me why. I'd love to hear this.
First off, let's give the Bengals some credit. Last year, we knew how bad their offensive line was. Okay. And they went out and made some serious adjustments. And, I think, call me crazy. I think their offensive line before all these injuries was playing good this season.
Yeah, it wasn't that
Like,
bad.
they had a good offensive line. You can run the ball with anybody behind a good offensive line. That's number one, but that's not the main reason. Shouldn't even say that's number one. Their owner, and listen, I don't mean this off in a bad way, but he's cheap. He's known to be cheap. This is his business. He's not like other owners where they got this, and this going on. Like, my person's name is Mike Brown. This is all he has is the Bengals. This is where he makes his money.
Right.
So he's going to dish out, a ton of money to Joe Burrow. He's going to have to save up for Jamar Chase. I don't even know if T. Higgins is part of the future. I think he should be, but I don't know if T. Higgins is part of the future. And you've seen the rumors a couple of weeks now. There's a possibility he's moved at some point in the next year or two. If I'm them, I'll do whatever. Obviously, you're paying Burrow, and obviously you're going to pay Chase. I'm doing whatever I can to keep T around. And if I have to run it with Samaje Perine and that rookie Evans they drafted, that's what I'm going to do. Mixon was out snapped by like 20 snaps last night. And granted, they were throwing the ball a lot, and Perine is he's a good pass catcher, and he's a better pass blocker too.
Right. Okay.
So I think he's expendable.
He's got 2 more years left on his deal. I understand your point, and I think you made some really good points about how the owner's cheap and they got a lot of people to pay. Burrow alone is gonna have a large tax attached to him.
Yeah.
The only thing I wouldn't read into so much is the playing time that Mixon's got. Because I think if they were gonna let him go, they would be like running the crap out of him. I think you are really using him. B, he really wasn't that healthy. He got hurt a couple of times this year. He was out for 3 weeks. They brought him back. They were splitting time with him and Pirine. I think it was because they wanted to try to keep him healthy for the playoffs. And I'm sure that he had some nagging stuff going on in the playoffs. They kind of adapted the same formula, trying to just keep him fresh, not overwork him and lose him throughout the playoffs. Because I'm sure he probably couldn't handle the full workload anymore. I mean, we'll see. I don't think they need to get rid of him yet. He's got 2 more years. Maybe we revisit this conversation a year later. It's a big possibility. He's got 1 more year left. It's also very hard to get rid of running backs. You're not going to really trade him. I think it's going to be really hard to trade him. He's still a very good player, I think. I mean, he's an underrated pass catcher, and when he gets into space, he's a tough tackle. He's got a power style to his game. He falls forward a lot.
And listen, last night they're not using him a lot. They go down early. I mean, they're down 10 early, so they kind of went away from the run a little bit. They also, the offensive line that was, worked, makeshift offensive line in Buffalo did not work last night. So, really were no spots to run the ball.
Well, that's a team that needs a running game very soon is the Buffalo Bills.
Can I just say something? Like the Chiefs and the way they were able to dominate that offensive line Sunday night just makes me think how terrible the Buffalo Bills were in that playoff game. Just like that's all you had to do.
Mm-hmm.
Also score some points, but still brutal. Anyway,
what do we think about this Super Bowl though? Because I'm looking at the line. You said what is it 2 now?
Two and a half. Yeah,
Eagles -2.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's really tough. It's like you can't pick against Mahomes. I feel like at this point,
it's tough. It's tough to pick against Mahomes.
That Eagles team is it's so complete. It's like so tough to pick against them.
There's something I can't get out of my head, and that's the Eagles' offensive line and defensive line is so much better.
I would say this is one of the sexiest matchups we've had.
Yeah.
I last year was a good one too. We were excited about the Bengals being a fresh team and everything, and that Rams defense with Donald and Cooper Kupp was having an insane year. But I think the best quarterback in the sport is playing, and then you have this emerging this Eagles team that has emerged and became this juggernaut this year. And then obviously Jalen Hurts is a fantastic player. He was number 2 in MVP if he stayed healthy, and he literally got number 1 and number 2 in MVP.
Yeah. No, they're an intriguing team for many reasons. In the Northeast, we'll be all over them too.
Yeah.
You'll get obviously a massive turnout in the Northeast watching them. And listen, this is going to get tired quickly. But the brothers thing is really cool. Jason Kelce, Travis Kelce thing is really cool.
I think the whole Andy Reid thing is cooler, honestly. I think the fact that they let him go and how that ended, and now he gets to face his former team 10 years later in the Super Bowl is pretty cool.
And if he wins, I think he becomes the winningest coach in Chiefs history with a win on.
If he wins, he becomes probably a top 10 head coach in NFL history.
Where does he rank? Yeah,
I don't even know if he is yet. I mean, we'll see. I gotta I can't do it off the top of my head, but he's a Hall of Fame coach for sure.
Somebody asked me that yesterday. And I might have said he's top 5 if he wins. Who are the top 5 head coaches of all time? Belichick,
This is really tough.
Lombardi,
Well, it's hard. You got like Don Shula, you got guy Parcells. You're
Parcells.
comparing guys over generations.
It's tough.
Yeah,
He's up there. He's an unbelievable coach.
he is.
I love Andy Reid. Hope he
He's,
wins. I mean, I
he's
hope
a
he wins.
very like if you dislike Andy Reid, like there's something wrong with you. Like
Yeah.
he's a very likable guy. The guy likes cheeseburgers and he looks like a walrus. Like what is there to hate
Like, how do
about?
the
Like
Eagles? How are the Eagle fans who can find anything in a person to dislike about them?
yeah,
I don't even think they can.
they should dislike Chip Kelly, not Andy Reid.
Jesus, they dislike a lot of things over there.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. You're right. This is the best possible matchup I think we could have gotten, to be honest with you. So I'm not gonna lie to you. I think if the Bengals were to win that game and the offensive line was still in shambles,
Yeah, you're
I
right.
think
That might
we
have
would
been an
have
ugly matchup.
had a blowout. I think.
I really like the way the postseason has gone. There's been a lot of blowouts and not close games. I'm very optimistic that this is going to be a good game.
I can't see how this is not a good game unless, God forbid, there was an injury.
Right. I would say, if anything, it would go in the Eagles' direction of they're going to get blown out, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No, neither
Just
do I.
because I would think whatever Mahomes was going ballistic and whatever. I just don't think it's possible. I think it's going to be a good game.
I feel like there was more in the Chiefs game that we just didn't get to. Did you
Well,
have
yeah,
other than the officiating, like at the end of the game, like I kept saying this, and I didn't think this was like a huge deal. I thought the Bengals got screwed over, like we said before, with that third down being replayed, and then Eli Apple ends up holding MVS, and then they get to a new set of downs, but they didn't score on that drive.
Yeah.
But I didn't think the officiating was like
It wasn't the worst of it.
god awful in that game.
It wasn't.
The intentional grounding, I could see how some had a problem.
Yeah.
Especially when you look at the overhead view. Perrine is kind of crossing over there.
Right.
That was late, but they get the first down. The Hayden Hurst is left wide open, and they get the first down on the next play.
Yeah. It gets forgotten.
Yeah. So I was very impressed with that Chiefs defense. They played very well. And like you said, they deserve to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And now we got an interesting Super Bowl.
We do. Yeah. And it's all you could ask for. It's a good matchup.
And we're closer to baseball season.
And guess what? It's another season where the 2-1 seeds are playing each other. It's
the
two best teams are playing each other. So
yeah, you're right. We didn't get that. We had both 1 seeds last year go out in the division round.
You just mentioned baseball. It reminded me. Did you see Jazz Chisholm as the cover athlete of MLB The Show?
Yeah, it's something.
I mean, my roommate said it and I started laughing. He's like, that's if Brandon Ayuk was on the cover of Madden. It's literally the same thing. Like,
it's a good comparison.
It is. Like, he was a big name coming up. He's a good prospect. He's got 4.9 career WAR over 3 seasons, and he finally started breaking out last year. He's been no slouch. It's not like we've been like, all right, come on, get going. But he started to have a breakout season last year. He got hurt. He played 60 games, made the All-Star team, didn't even play because he was hurt. Now he's a cover athlete of the show. We go from Shohei Ohtani to Jazz Chisholm.
Jazz Chisholm. Look at that, some NL East love. NL East is loaded, dude.
I'm surprised. I feel like a really good candidate for the cover, who it would be, and I think this year would be really good, and I don't know why they didn't do it. I think Lindor would be a good guy to put on the cover.
Yeah?
He's a popular player, personality. The Mets had a good year. They were the loudest team this offseason.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been bad. I could see that. I thought it was going to be J-Rod.
Yeah, that I think was the most obvious one that people are pissed off about, but
it's tough too because you don't want to give it to Lindor would have been perfect because he hasn't been the cover, and I mean Lindor's not going to be a bad player in a few years, but he's not the youngest guy. He's been in the league for a while.
Yeah,
and again, maybe you want to save J-Rod. Maybe he has an MVP season, and bang, he's on the cover.
True, but what are they going to do? They're going to put Jazz Chisholm with an infielder in an infielding position, and then with an infielder's mitt on, and then he's a center fielder, by the way.
Yeah, he's a center fielder.
Yeah.
He asked. He told them he'll move. Good for him. You see that? You see that picture of Keith Hernandez, Paul Goldschmidt, and Albert Pujols going around?
Like an actual, like they took a picture
Yeah,
together.
took a picture. I thought that was pretty cool. I
Why
just saw a
did
Cardinal. I just saw a Cardinal logo, and I was thinking of Paul Goldschmidt. I'm like, oh, I saw that picture the other night at the awards dinner in New
why?
York.
Okay, but yeah, you probably saw it on your Twitter, your Mets Twitter. Why would I see a picture of Keith Hernandez with Paul Goldschmidt and Albert Pujols? And why would I care about a picture of Keith Hernandez? All right, Michael's frozen. That's it for episode 87. Thanks for watching, guys.